Hi, this is Tom from Infinity Bricks, just bringing to you a LEGO Marvel Cinematic Universe Top 10 minifigures. Lots of minifigures have been released by Marvel, whether that be for the comic books or for the animated series, but this top 10 is purely for the movie released minifigures, so looking at films like Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, Thor, Ant-Man, etc. Picking just 10 minifigures from the Marvel Cinematic Universe is really difficult. There are so many great figures and there's so many figures that I would like to include, but these are the ones that are within the retail sets that I like the most. This top 10 will only focus on the retail figures that you could go out and purchase yourself. There's been two characters that have held the Marvel Cinematic Universe together, and I'm particularly thinking of the early films. There was Agent Coulson and Nick Fury. And we've had a couple of versions of Nick Fury, but we haven't had a version of Agent Coulson yet. I believe that there's rumours that there will be a set with Agent Coulson and Lola, his car, but we haven't seen any official images yet, so it's unclear as to whether this is the cinematic universe version of the character or whether this is the comic book version. But Nick Fury, we've had two versions. One is from the comics and one is from the film. And the one that came from the movies came with the SHIELD Helicarrier. And that set is very expensive. It's in the price range of the Ultimate Collector's Series here in the UK. It's around about $269.99, and there was 5 figures that came with that, and one of them being Nick Fury. Now this version of the character is brilliant. I really love the printing on him. I love the long coat that he's got. He's got this leather jacket, and you can see that the print detail carries on from the torso down to the legs. He looks very basic, but the reason why I've picked this figure for my top 10 is I love Samuel L. Jackson. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He's iconic in his performance in so many films, and I loved him as Nick Fury. I thought he was great. So to actually have a Samuel L. Jackson minifigure is awesome. And I think they did a great job with the print detail, and obviously just because he's part of an expensive set, he is harder to get hold of, and for that reason he's in my top 10. In Captain America the Winter Soldier, we got introduced to a new hero called the Falcon. Now, as I've said in other videos, I often prefer the comic book versions of the character to the movie versions of the character. But I have to be honest, with Falcon, I prefer the movie version. I think they really captured him well as a figure. I really love the wings, I love the detailed print on the wings, and the detailed print on the torso. Also, I'm loving the metallic goggles as well. I think overall this is a great looking figure, and he comes with 2 guns and looks really awesome. This Falcon minifigure came out with the Crossbones Hazard Heist, which also includes 2 other figures, Crossbones and Black Widow. Now, for many people, picking a minifigure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they may go straight to Iron Man, and I must admit, I do like the Iron Man minifigures, but I guess because there's so many of them and they all look very, very similar, it's very difficult to pick one out particularly and say, I really like that one. But actually, when I've looked at my minifigures, the one that I like most and the one that I feel stands out is War Machine. I think he looks great. The black, the silver and the chrome work really well with these little flecks of red, and also he has this great looking turret which is just on the side. I think they've done a great job in capturing his look within the minifigure. He came out in the set Superhero Airport Battle, and for me he is definitely the best version of War Machine and the best looking version of Iron Man. We've had a couple of different Ant-Man minifigures, and they both came out in the same set, Ant-Man Final Battle. But the reason why I like this version of Ant-Man is purely because you can also get the micro figure and the large-scale brick-built version of Ant-Man, and I just think they look great together. It's good to have the large, the medium and the small figure. I love the character in the film, and particularly in Civil War, which is my second favourite Marvel film to date. Now, I haven't seen Doctor Strange yet, I've only seen the trailer. I'm absolutely hyped for it. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as an actor. I think he's just going to pull it off and do such a fantastic job. To actually think that he's going to be playing a superhero in a film is awesome. When I first saw that minifigure though, I was absolutely amazed at how much detail went into it, particularly the print detail that you have on that torso and on the legs, and also on the 2 discs that have that language wrapped around it. On top of that, he also has printing on the hairpiece, and he has this awesome cape which is like Dracula. I think he looks brilliant on display, and definitely one of my favourite figures. The greatest villain that we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Loki, and they captured him really well as a figure, particularly the helmet. I think that helmet looks absolutely awesome in gold, and with that green cape and the print details on both the torso and the legs, I think this is a highly detailed figure that captures the character very well. He looks really cool, looks really bright and colourful, and definitely one of my favourite Marvel figures. Now Loki's come out in a few different sets, but the recent Junior set with Iron Man is probably the cheapest way to get hold of him. My favourite Marvel set is the Milano Spaceship Rescue, and that's from the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is also my favourite Marvel film. Just within one film they set up all the characters and brought them together to be a convincing team. There was lots of humour and lots of action, and one of the funniest characters for me was Drax. I just love the details that they brought across onto this minifigure. All those tattoos that they've brought onto the character, onto the torso, onto the back, onto both arms and onto the head. They just look really good. I love the fact that they've got little minifigure heads on the torso print. And overall, as a figure, he's highly detailed. It's always a great thing to see a figure which has printing on all of the arms and on the legs, torso and on the head. And fortunately they did that with Drax, which I think has worked really well, and he just looks absolutely awesome. Also within the latest Avengers film we got to meet a completely new character, that is Vision, and I think he looks amazing. I love his colours, and looking at the minifigure, I think they've done such a great job in capturing him. That bright yellow cape, the green torso and the pink on the legs and the hands and on that pink head, I just think he looks so cool. He's such a unique looking figure, he really stands out among others. When you actually compare him to a lot of the other figures that come across in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, many of them are quite dull, some of them are grey, some of them are kind of like just dull colours, but him, he's just full of colour. He almost looks like a comic book version of a character. He's done so well. He's definitely one of my favourite Marvel minifigures released by LEGO. Being that Guardians of the Galaxy is my favourite Marvel film, I cannot ignore Rocket Raccoon. He is so cool in the film. He is the standout character. He's so funny, it's brilliant. His interaction with Groot and other characters is awesome. And there was a few ways that you could have got him. There was a set at Comic-Con, there was a set which was just a polybag release, but the version of the character that I like the most came out in the Knowhere escape mission, which is really unusual because for me the Knowhere escape mission LEGO set was probably my most disappointing LEGO set, purely because so much of that set just didn't make any sense to me. But the inclusion of Rocket Raccoon and Groot and Nebula was the only reason I really wanted to get that set. But even so, regardless of whether that set was any good or not, for me that figure is awesome, it stands out. I love the orange, whereas the other figs are red. He's bright and colourful and he has that head and it really captures him well. And the best part about him is this huge bazooka that you get with the character, which captures that moment in the film really well. So for me, he is definitely one of my favourite Marvel figures. Now if I was asked the question, who is my favourite Marvel character of all time, I have to say it is Spider-Man. I was brought up on Spider-Man, I watched the cartoons, read the comics, and for me he is the one character out of all of the characters within the universe that I identified with the most as a child. Now looking at what they've done with him in the recent films, I do enjoy the Sam Raimi films, so Spider-Man 1, 2 and 3, and I was a fan actually of the Amazing Spider-Man. I did feel that some of the comments which a lot of people had relating to the film and character development, I did agree with them, and I was a little bit concerned with where Sony was taking the character. But the moment that I found out that Spider-Man had been brought back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and was going to be back into the hands of Marvel themselves and Disney and in the films, I was so excited. I was really excited for what they were going to do. And in the recent film Captain America Civil War, we get the glimpse that we wanted of Spider-Man, and it was so cool to see him. Immediately you see, yes, this is Peter Parker. His character was done so well, and what they've done with the figure is brilliant. He's such a great replication of the version in the film. When Spider-Man was revealed in the Civil War trailer, a lot of people were concerned about the suit. They had various comments, particularly with the eyes moving and animating, but also he had some sort of black bands on his arms and on his legs, which we haven't seen before in the Spider-Man character. But when I saw him on screen, I actually thought, I'm really happy with what they've done. I'm really glad that they've done what they've done with Spider-Man. They've made him different. He looks completely different. Even though his suit does look different to the suit in other films, it also captures the whole look of Spider-Man, and those upgrades to his suit with the eyes and with the web shooters all make complete sense. Now, the most detailed Spider-Man figure that's been released up until this point is the Comic-Con version of Spider-Man, and obviously that figure is so expensive and hard to get, but this is the first time that we've had a Spider-Man that has print details on both the arms and on the legs, and I think that's what makes him special. For me, he's my #1 Marvel character, and he's my #1 LEGO Marvel Cinematic Universe minifigure. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for any future updates. Speak to you again soon.